All right, everybody, welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show where we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide around the SWAC coming at you, and this is a little bit of a rough show for me this week, man. My sister, she lost her lengthy battle with lupus. Um, she was in the hospital for like a month and a half or so. She passed away on Friday. So I'm just kind of powering through this, but I wanted to continue to, bring you guys some content because football and this kind of helps me kind of get through it. Also, the love and support from everybody out there, my family, has been great. So I just wanted to send a heavenly rest in peace shout out, much love and appreciation to my sister Sharon Wells Johnson. Like I said, she lost a lengthy battle with lupus at the age of 57 on Friday. So I'm just trying to, continue to make it, man. Thank you guys for the love and the prayers and everything, the support from everybody, man. I really appreciate it. It's been real rough, but, you got to kind of keep pushing on. So I wanted to go ahead and, bring you guys a show just to talk about this week 10. I mean, I tried to watch a little football this week. Didn't really hit the same. But it still was something that kind of helped a little bit. So with that being said, man, want y'all to check out the socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. You can hit the Cash App to support the show. $ SWAC Talk. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you have, thank you very much. And let somebody else know to subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be alerted to any videos that I drop, because with basketball season basically starting this week, I'll probably do a video once a week or so to kind of talk about the games that have taken place in the non-conference, and we will cover basketball full time probably around the time of SWAC play. Other than that, we'll probably do a little here, little there until we get there. So make sure you hit that notification bell, like the video, share them, and feel free to comment on this week 10 action. Let's go ahead and start, man. We're gonna go ahead and get this show started with the Thursday night game. Valley picked up their first victory over Alabama A&M by a score of 30-20. This was a game that Valley basically controlled. They controlled this entire game. Jelani Easton got the start at quarterback, and he threw a 2-yard pass to Cameron Gardner with 3:45 left in the first quarter to give Valley a 7-0 lead after the extra point. Marquez Beeson caught a 56-yard pass from Quincy Casey to get the Bulldogs on the board with 12:02 left in the second quarter. The extra point was good. That tied the game up at 7. And then Rankin caught a 21-yard pass from Eason to get the Delta Devils the lead back. Extra point was good, 14-7. That came with 8:52 left in the second quarter. 35 seconds left in the first half. Orlando Fernandez kicked a 34-yard field goal for Valley to make the score 17-7, which would be the halftime score. Valley got another field goal for Fernandez with 10:45 left in the third to make the score 20-7. Quincy Casey will get the Bulldogs back on the board with 5:51 left in the third with a 2-yard touchdown run, 20-14. Sylvester Campbell will catch Easton's third touchdown pass, this time for 15 yards out, extra point good, 27-14. Valley will get another Fernandez field goal with 37 seconds left in the third quarter to make the score 30-14. And then Jemison will catch a 16-yard pass from Casey. The 2-point conversion was no good, 30-20. That came with 12:58 left in the game, and that would be your final score. Nice victory for Valley, man. They needed this win. They needed to close out the season with some positivity, and they got them a nice victory. 23 first downs for the Bulldogs, 21 for the Delta Devils, 110 on the ground for A&M on 28 carries, 3.9 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Valley 201 on the ground with 42 carries, 4.8 yards per carry, no touchdowns. 363 through the air for the Bulldogs, 24-38, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 194 for Valley through the air, 16 of 33, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. 473 yards of offense for the Bulldogs on 66 plays, 7.2 yards per play. They did fumble twice and lost both, so they turned the ball over 4 times in this game. 9 penalties for 95 yards. That also hurts you in a game like this. 395 total offense for Valley on 75 plays, 5.3 yards per play. They didn't fumble at all. They had 10 penalties for 67 yards. A&M punted the ball for a 32-yard average on 3 punts. Valley 42-yard average on 4 punts. Time of possession 23:08 for Alabama A&M. They were 1 of 10 on third down, so you could easily see where they lost this game at. Third down conversions, turnovers, and penalties. 3 of 5 on fourth downs. 2 for 2 in the red zone. They had 1 sack on the night. They made both their extra points that they attempted, and they were 0 for 1 on field goals. So you can add that also to something that is a negative against them in winning this game. Valley 7 of 17 on third downs, 36-minute, 52-second time of possession. They didn't attempt a fourth down. They were 3 of 3 in the red zone. They had no sacks. They were 3 for 3 on extra points and 3 of 4 in 3 or 4 on field goals. So Valley also missed a field goal that could have helped extend their lead. Quincy Casey 24-38, 363, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, no sacks. Easton 16 of 33, 194 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 sack. Eaglin led the Bulldogs with 16 carries for 57 yards. Jemison 6 for 23. Casey 4 for 11 and a touchdown. Easton led Valley with 9 carries for 88 yards, averaged 9.8 yards per carry. Wilson 9 carries for 54 yards, averaged 6 yards per carry. Johnson 21 for 51. Rankin 1 for 6. Thomas 1 for 2. Cox led the Bulldogs with 7 catches for 97 yards. Gardner 4 for 71. Beeson 1 for 56 and a touchdown. Young 4 for 46. Clark 2 for 29. Turner 2 for 17. Jemison 1 for 16. Eaglin 1 for 13. Johnson 1 for 12. Hambrick 1 for 6. Rankin 6 catches for 83 yards for Valley. Johnson 2 for 32. Gardner 2 for 30 and 1 touchdown. Jean 2 for 19. Campbell 1 for 15 and a touchdown. Edes 2 for 8 and Hobson 1 for 7. Defensively, Drake Terry had 10 tackles for the Bulldogs. Moses Douglas with 8. Hope with 6. Hayes with 5 and Wesley with 4 tackles for loss. Terry 3. Hayes, Pertee, and Hester each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. Middleton and Young had a half a tackle for loss. Young and Middleton had a half a sack apiece. Interception was by Hester. Valley was led by Fox with 13 tackles, Reed 7, Martin 6, Refuge 5, Lindsey and Bell with 4 tackles for loss. Fox had 2. Valley didn't register a sack. And forced fumbles were by Fox and Fant. Recovery by Johnson and Wilson. Interceptions, Lindsey had both interceptions for Valley. So nice victory for Valley, man. They pick up their first victory, first overall victory, first SWAC victory. Big game for them. They head to Southern on Saturday. Alabama and them plays Jackson State in Mobile on Saturday. So big games for both teams. As they try to close out their schedules in a positive manner. Our next game was our Friday night game. Alcorn defeated Prairie View by a score of 23-16. This was a tale of really the first half. Alcorn had a lot of chances to blow this game out of the water. Ended up settling for 3 field goals. Prairie View had a great third quarter, scoring 2 touchdowns. Missed the extra point, which probably is the difference in this game. Missed the extra point. They would then take a 16-9 lead, and Alcorn would score a touchdown late, and then the game would go to overtime, and Alcorn would win this game in overtime. So, like I said, 3 first-half field goals from Noah Kiani. First one came in the first quarter from 21 yards out with 3:42 left in the first quarter. 13:48 left in the second quarter. 46-yard field goal from Kiani made it score 6-0. 9:40 left in the second. Another field goal. This time from 23 yards out, scored 9-0. That's your halftime score. Prairie View would get on the board when Kobe Washington caught a 24-yard pass from Conley. That extra point was good. There was 12:10 left in the third quarter. Scored 9-7 at that point. Connolly would run a 20-yard touchdown run for the Panthers to get in the lead. Extra point was no good. 5:12 left in the third. Prairie View led 13-9. Reyes will get a 34-yard field goal for Prairie View with 14:36 left in the game. They made the score 16-9. Leatherwood will get a 5-yard run for Alcorn with 6:48 left in the game. Extra point was good, 16-16. And then Alcorn would score first in overtime when Jarvion Howard had a 2-yard touchdown run. Extra point good. They took a 23-16 lead. And then I'll just run through the OT possession for Prairie View. Obviously, they started at the 25. Connolly threw a nice pass. The receiver was wide open. Probably would have scored if he caught it, but he dropped it. Then Prairie View got a false start, put them at 2nd and 15. Connolly threw an incomplete pass. Third and 15. He was sacked for a loss of 4. Setting them up at 4th and 19, and then Connolly would be intercepted in the end zone. So that ended the game. So not a good overtime possession at all for Prairie View. Had a chance to score the tying touchdown. Pass was dropped. Kid was open by a couple steps, dropped the ball, and then Prairie View went backwards from there because they were put in a position where they had to throw, and that's honestly not what Prairie View does. The passing game is not built to be the sole focus of their offense. Trey Lawrence got the start for Alcorn. He was 7 of 22 for 82 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once. Connolly, 13 of 26, 142 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. Howard, 29 carries for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. Went over 1,000 yards on the season, so he's the first back in conference to go over 1,000 yards this season. Leatherwood, 6 for 41 and a touchdown. Duffy, 5 for 24. Manny Jones, 1 for 22. That run came in overtime. That set up the Braves at the 1st and goal. Nice 22-yard run in reverse. Lawrence, 2 for 6. Stewart led Prairie View with 20 carries for 94 yards. Connolly, 16 for 38 and a touchdown. Wisham, 3 for 11. Heron, 2 for 11. Goodwater, 5 for 9. Holden, 1 for 4. CJ Bollard, 2 catches for 42 yards for Alcorn. Hunt, 3 for 32. Rogers, 1 for 6. Howard, 1 for 2. Heron led Prairie View with 4 catches for 54 yards. Washington, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Jalen Howard, 1 for 18. Christopher Simmons, 1 for 15. Collier Ricks, 1 for 10. Trevion Jones, 1 for 6. Goodwater, 1 for 2. Cherilus had a huge game for Alcorn on defense, man. That guy was everywhere. 14 tackles, 1.5 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. Ellis, 10 tackles. Woods, 9 tackles. Also had a block punt. Bailey, 8 tackles. McCullum, 7 tackles. Kinsler, 5 tackles. Tackles for loss. Smith and Bailey each had 2. Cherilus, 1.5. Blunt, Ballard, Gaither, Smith, they each had 1. Ellis and Woods and McDaniel each had a half a tackle for loss apiece. 2 sacks for Bailey, 1 for Smith, and 1 for Cherilus. Interception was by McCullum, which came at the end of the game. Travion Green led Prairie View with 11 tackles. Jesse Evans with 8. Keyshawn Johnson with 7. Turner with 7. Schenkel with 7. James with 5. Reese and Carter had 4. Tackles for loss. Johnson, 2. Evans, 1. Green, a half a tackle for loss. Jones, a half a tackle for loss. Sack was by Johnson. No forced fumbles and no interceptions. So this was a key game for Prairie View. With a win, they basically would have locked up the division. They lost, which made things a little bit more interesting for the weekend. But the game we'll talk about next pretty much sealed the fate. I unofficially kind of put Prairie View back in the driver's seat for the race in the West. We'll talk about that game next. But Prairie View was down. They were tied. They were back. They were dropped back into a tie for first place going into Saturday. Couple games could have determined somebody else's fate. They didn't go the way that most people wanted to go. So Prairie View is still back in the hunt. Alcorn this week, they play Bethune-Cookman at home. So they head back home to take on the Wildcats And Prairie View takes on UAPB in what I call the Evans Bowl. Mark Evans and Jesse Evans, the Evans brothers, they both play offense line, defense line. They match up in that game. So let's take a look at our next game. This game, a lot of people thought that, you know, with Prairie View losing and Southern being basically tied with them, a win by Southern would definitely keep them in the mix. Still wouldn't officially wrap up anything for Southern if they won, but it would still make, you know, they would basically have a leg up because of a tiebreak over Prairie View. And if TSU stayed in that tie, then maybe a 3-team tiebreaker, maybe Southern could find a way in that. But Southern dropped a game that they had their chances. You know, you say that a lot when Southern loses, but they had their chances. FAMU played a really, really solid game. They made a couple mistakes, but they played a really solid game and won this game 30-16, keeping their playoff hopes alive. I think they feel like they have a shot to make the FCS playoffs if they continue to win out, because they haven't lost since the Jackson State game. They won 7 games in a row, so they are on a nice roll. Southern kind of struggled in this game scoring the ball. I mean, they got 3 field goals in the first half. 2 of those field goals probably could have been touchdowns if they could have finished those drives, but you know, FAMU's defense stood up in the red zone and forced field goals. Southern scored first on the 23-yard Joshua Griffin field goal, 3-0. That came with 11:42 left in the first quarter. 6:31 in the first. Xavier Smith caught a 9-yard pass for Musa. FAMU took a 7-3 lead. Griffin would get another field goal with 10:01 left in the second quarter from 42 yards out. 7-6. Davis would catch a 20-yard pass from Musa after a Southern turnover that would make the score 14-6. Extra point was good. That came with 7:20 left in the second. 5:59 left in the second quarter after another Southern turnover. Romo Martinez would get a 43-yard field goal, make the score 17-6. 10 seconds left in the second quarter. Griffin would kick a 26-yard field goal for Southern, 17-9. That was the halftime score. FAMU would get the ball to start the second half and march down the field. Get a Romo Martinez field goal with 12:23 left in the third, 20-9. Southern would probably put together their best drive of the night, and they would get a 35-yard touchdown run from McCray. Extra point good. That made the score 20-16. But then FAMU would answer right back with a 5-yard pass from Musa to Pruitt. Extra point good. 3:21 left in the third, 27-16. And then 11:18 left in the game. Romo Martinez would kick a 31-yard field goal for the Rattlers, made the score 30-16, and that would basically be your final margin. Southern finished with 19 first downs. FAMU also 19 first downs. Southern 224 on the ground, 39 carries, 5.7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. 98 yards rushing for FAMU on 35 carries, 2.8 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Southern 113 through the air, 10 of 23. No touchdowns, 1 interception. FAMU 17 of 34 passing, 224 through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 337 for Southern total offense on 62 plays, 5.4 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and lost 2. So 3 turnovers for Southern is a killer. 7 penalties for 50 yards. 322 total offense for the Rattlers, 69 plays, 4.7 yards per play, 1 touchdown. 1 fumble, and they lost it. 4 penalties for 35 yards. Southern averaged 39 yards per punt on 4 punts. FAMU 45 yards per punt on 3 punts. Time of possession 28:03 for Southern. 7 of 15 on third downs. They didn't attempt a fourth down. They were 2 of 3 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks. They were 1 for 1 on extra points and 3 for 3 on field goals. FAMU 30 of 22 on time of possession. 30 minutes, 22 seconds time of possession. 7 of 16 on third downs. 1 for 1 on fourth downs. 5 of 6 in the red zone. 2 of 9. 2 sacks also for the Rattlers. 3 of 3 on extra points and 3 of 3 on field goals. Individually, McCray 8 of 20 for 88 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Harold Blood came in, went 2 for 3 for 25 yards. Musa 17 of 13 for 224, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks. McCray led Southern with 16 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. League on 13 carries for 51 yards. Rhymes 9 for 47. Jennings 8 carries for 44 yards for the Rattlers. Davis 8 for 29. McLeod 12 for 29. Musa 6 for -3. Dyson led Southern with 2 catches for 40 yards. Fuller 2 for 25. Rhymes 2 for 17. Whitfield 1 for 15. Allen 2 for 10. King 1 for 6. Smith 6 catches for 100 yards for the Rattlers and a touchdown. Manigo 2 for 45. Sharee 4 for 35. Davis 2 for 27 and a touchdown. Young 1 for 16. Pruitt 2 for 1 and a touchdown. Johnson led Southern with 6 tackles. Ream with 5. Campbell 5. Lang 5. Harris 4. Brown 4. Davis 4. Williams 4. Edwards 4. Tackles for loss. Campbell and Edwards each 1.5 tackles for loss apiece. Dumas, Davis, Lang, Gibbons, they each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. Williams and Brown 1/2 a tackle for loss. Sacks were by Peterson and Gibbons. From a recovery was by Lang. FAMU was led in tackles by Chaney, Johnny Chaney Jr. with 11. Isaiah Major with 8. Morgan with 7. Williams with 7. Land 5. Tackles for loss. Stevens with 1. Land with 1. Sacks Stevens 1. Land 1. Forced fumbles. Winsome Frazier had 2 forced fumbles. King had a forced fumble. Recoveries. Major interception was by Morgan. And like I said, Southern, this is a game Southern had their chances. You know, they really had opportunity to make this more of a game, but they just could not score. You know, they couldn't get touchdowns in the red zone. You kick a lot of field goals in a game like this, you're gonna find yourself in a bad spot. You know, FAMU is a very solid team. I mean, they're not playing great football in terms of looking great, but they found ways to kind of make some things happen, and they found ways to win, and they just couldn't get what they needed, and that kind of hurts you. So fumble at the 2-yard line also is something that hurt them. You know, you scored out. The score is basically 30-23. You find yourself down by a touchdown, but just could not make anything happen to win this game. So moving on to our next game of the night, Jackson State would defeat Texas Southern by a score of 41-14. And basically, man, this is the kind of game you kind of get with JSU. I mean, you look like you got a chance, but you honestly, you really don't when you really start to break it down. TSU fell behind 14-0. Wilkerson 3-yard touchdown for JSU, extra point good, 7-0. Stevens 38-yard touchdown from Shador, extra point good, 14-0. TSU would get on the board with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left in the first quarter when Howard would get the 25-yard pass from Andrew Body, extra point good. 14-7 was the score at that point. Wilkerson would get a 41-yard touchdown run for the Tigers. A JSU with 1:56 left in the first to make the score 21-7 after the extra point. And that would be our halftime score. Third quarter, Howard would get an 11-yard run for TSU. Extra point good, 21-14. That came with 8:30 left in the third. 5:31 left in the third. Shador Sanders 2-yard touchdown run, extra point good, 28-14. Shane Hooks will catch a 7-yard pass from Shador Sanders with 3:46 left in the third. 2-point conversion, no good, 34-14. And then Hooks will catch a 9-yard pass from Sanders with 14-19 left in the game. And that made the score 41-14 after the extra point. Jackson State 24 first downs, TSU 13. Jackson State 232 on the ground, 38 carries, 6.1 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Texas Southern 130 on the ground, 41 carries, 3.2 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. 259 through the air for Jackson State, 24-33, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 132 on the ground for Texas Southern, 9-23, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. 491 total offense for JSU, 71 plays, 6.9 yards per play. They did fumble once. They had 13 penalties for 113 yards, 262 total offense for Texas Southern. 64 plays, 4.1 yards per play, no fumbles, 8 penalties for 65 yards. So TSU didn't turn the ball over in this game. JSU 1 turnover. Jackson State averaged 29 yards per punt on 4 punts. Texas Southern 7 punts for 35.7 yard average. Time of possession 34-6 for JSU. 7 of 11 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. They were 4 of 5 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks on the night, and they were 5 of 5 on extra points. No field goals attempted. Texas Southern 25-54. Time of possession 3 of 16, 2 of 4. 3 of 16 on third down, 2 of 4 on fourth down, 1 for 2 in the red zone. They had 3 sacks, and they were 2 for 2 on extra points and 0 for 1 on field goals. Shedeur Sanders, 23 of 30 for 252, 3 touchdowns, no interception, sacked 3 times. JP Andrade, 1 for 3 for 7 yards. Andrew Body, 9 of 23 for 132 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Wilkerson, 26 carries for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns, average 8.2 yards per carry. Marshall, 3 for 11. Allen, 1 for 8. Davis, 1 for 5. Sanders, 7 for -6 and a touchdown. Howard, 14 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown to lead TSU. Owens, 13 for 33. Harris, 3 for 32. Body, 9 for 32. Ford, 1 for 9. Falkenberg, 1 for -14. Hooks, 7 catches for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns for JSU. Stevens, 3 for 56 and 1. Hunter, 2 for 25. Davis, 3 for 22. Coleman, 2 for 20. Hunt, 2 for 18. Goodell, 1 for 16. Rucker, 1 for 9. Gaines, 1 for 7. Hinton, 1 for 7. Weidman, 1 for 3. Masters, 1 for 43 for TSU. Howard, 1 for 25 and a touchdown. Morton, 2 for 24. Mitchell, 1 for 15. And Shane, 2 for 14. Owens, 1 for 6. Bennett, 1 for 5. Silman Craig led JSU with 11 tackles. Aubrey Miller with 10. Brown, 5. Arrington, 5. Tackles for loss. Patton, Brown, Arrington, Davis, and Griffin each had 1 tackle for loss. Griffiths, 1 tackle for loss. Sacks, Brown, and Arrington each had a sack. No forced fumbles, no interceptions. Texas Southern was led in tackles by Cooper with 7, Williams with 6, Benjamin with 5, George with 5, Bargety with 5, Tucker with 5. Tackles for loss, Cooper, Anderson, Hamilton, Bargety, they each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. Sacks by Cooper, Anderson, and Bargety. No forced fumbles, interceptions, also no interceptions. So pretty much your typical JSU game, man. You know, they do what they do. You cannot make mistakes. You have to continue to move the football and score points against this team. If you don't do that, you're gonna lose. And they continue their march toward an undefeated season. They face off against Alabama A&M in Mobile on Saturday. Texas Southern, they host Grambling on Saturday. I forgot to say, FAMU, they head to Montgomery on Saturday to take on Alabama State. Southern host Valley on Saturday. The next game we're going to talk about is Grambling and UAPB. The G-Men pick up a homecoming victory over UAPB. This game was really close in the first half. Pine Bluff just doesn't have the gas to even stay in a game like this. Score was 7-0 at the half. Only scoring in the first half came when C.J. Russell ran an 8-yard touchdown for Grambling. That came with 6:10 left in the first quarter. Extra point was good, 7-0. 14:40 left in the third quarter. Maurice Washington, 75-yard touchdown run. Extra point good. 14-0 Grambling. Thompson, 22-yard field goal for UAPB. Came with 10:07 left in the third quarter, 14-3. Washington, 56-yard run for Grambling. Came with 8:04 left in the third quarter. Extra 2-point conversion was good, 22-3. Lewis, 47-yard pass from Skylar Perry with 5:23 left in the third quarter. Extra point good. Pine Bluff Trail, 22-10. Calvez got a 3-yard run for Grambling with 13 left in the fourth. Extra point good, 29-10. Talbert, 4-yard run for Grambling with 4:23 left in the game. Extra point good, 36-10, and that would be your final margin. Pine Bluff had an opportunity late in the first half to do something, but they couldn't. They got deep in Grambling territory, but they couldn't score. Pine Bluff finished with 21 first downs, Grambling 17. 81 yards rushing for Pine Bluff on 33 carries, 2.5 yards per carry. No touchdowns. Grambling 348 on the ground. Big game running the ball. 41 carries, 8.5 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. 239 through the air for Pine Bluff. 25 of 49, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Grambling 82 yards passing, 7 of 17. No touchdowns, 1 interception. 320 yards for the Golden Lions on 82 plays, 3.9 yards per play, no fumbles. 1 penalty for 5 yards. Grambling 430 yards on 58 plays, 7.5 yards per play. They fumbled once and lost it. And they had 8 penalties for 66 yards. 37.2 yard per punt average for Pine Bluff on 5 punts. 47.5 yard average on 6 punts for Grambling. Time of possession, 30-30 for Pine Bluff. 4 of 18 on 3rd down, 1 for 6 on 4th down, 1 for 3 in the red zone, 2 sacks on the night, 1 of 1 on extra points, 1 for 2 on field goals. 27 minutes and 29 seconds for Grambling time of possession, 6 of 11 for 3rd downs, no 4th down attempts, 3 for 3 in the red zone. And they had 3 sacks, and they were 4 for 4 on extra points, and 0 for 1 on field goals. Individually, Pine Bluff was led by Skylar Perry with 23 of 40 for 228 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Edwards 2 for 8 for 11 yards and a sack. Britton 0 for 1. Calvez 7 for 17 for Grambling for 82 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Perry led Pine Bluff with 8 carries for 34 yards. Britton 20 carries for 32 yards. Lloyd 1 for 11. Joshua Edward 1 for 3. Chance Edwards 3 for 1. Maurice Washington led Grambling with 10 carries for 201 yards. You know, I always ask for 10 carries. Got the 10 carries this week. You see he put up 201. So you get a boy the ball, the kid's going to make the plays. So 10 carries, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, 20.1 yard average. Chalk 13 carries for 79 yards. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry. Talbert 6 for 26. Forrest 1 for 20. Russell 3 for 12 and a touchdown. Calvez 7 for 10 and a touchdown. Kenji Lewis led Pine Bluff with 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. Dawkins 5 for 77. Britton 8 for 38. Prince 3 for 31. Williams 2 for 12. Lloyd 1 for 3. Waters led Grambling with 1 catch for 32 yards. Rash 2 for 18. Washington 1 for 14. Wilson 1 for 9. Bean 1 for 6. Hollywayne 1 for 3. Dozier led Pine Bluff with 9 tackles. Jones 7. Knox, Anthony, and Henderson each had 6 tackles for loss. Dozier with 2. Henderson 1.5. Smith 1. Ward 1. Clark half a tackle for loss. Sacks, Dozier 1. Clark and Smith each had a half a sack. Forced fumble was credited to the team, and the recovery credited to the team. Interception was by Henderson. Grambling was led by Reed with 14 tackles. Matthews with 10. Vessel 7. Anderson 6. Burley 5. Tackles for loss. Reed 3.5. Anderson 3. Vessel 1.5. Powell 1. Marshall and Matthews each a half a tackle for loss apiece. Sacks went to Anderson and Matthews with 1. Vessel and Marshall with a half a sack apiece. No forced fumbles and no interception was by Fields. So real great second half for Grambling. They really exploded in the ground game and picked up a big homecoming victory. That's their second victory in a row. So they are picking up a little bit of steam. Like I said, they head to TSU on Saturday, and Pine Bluff will host Prairie View at home on Saturday in the Evans Bowl. The last game of the week, Alabama State spoiled Bethune-Cookman's homecoming by a score of 37-22. For a while, it looked like Alabama State was going to drop this game. Looked like Bethune-Cookman offensively was going to control this game, but the defense of Alabama State started to stand up, and the offense woke up and scored 37 points. So really a good effort by both sides of the ball for the Hornets in this game. Alabama State scored first on a Demetrius Davis 15-yard run that came with 13:31 left in the first quarter. Extra point was good, 7-0. Quayshawn Bird would get Bethune-Cookman on the board with 3:16 left in the first quarter with a 10-yard run. Extra point was good, 7-7. 1:39 left in the first. Bethune-Cookman would get a safety to make the score 9-7. Jalen Jones would get the Wildcats back on the board with 11:02 left in the second quarter with a 13-yard run. Extra point good. They made the score 16-7. Jaden John would get a 19-yard field goal for the Hornets. Came with 3:11 left in the first half. That made the score 16-10, and that would be our halftime score. John would kick another field goal for the Hornets with 9:32 left in the third quarter. That made the score 16-13. Santo Dunn, 70-yard punt return. Special teams, Santo Dunn, both together. 70-yard punt return for a touchdown, 20-16. Alvarez would get the Wildcats on the board for the first time in the second half with a 6-yard pass from Jones, 22-20. That came with 3:44 left in the third. 55 seconds left in the third quarter. Hickson caught a 32-yard pass from Davis. Extra point good, 27-22. Davis would get a 26-yard run for the Hornets with 14:45 left in the game. Extra point good, 34-22. And then 6:52 left in the game. John would kick a 24-yard field goal for the Hornets to make the final score 37-22. So nice game for Alabama State on both sides of the ball and special teams. 22 first downs for the Hornets, 21 for the Wildcats. 187 for the Hornets on the ground, 40 carries, 4.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 173 on the night for the Wildcats, 33 carries, 5.2 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 180 through the air for the Hornets, 13-16, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. 19-32 through the air for the Wildcats, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 191 yards. 367 total offense for the Hornets on 56 plays, 6.6 yards per play. They fumbled once but didn't lose it. They had 3 penalties for 19 yards. 364 total offense for the Wildcats, 65 plays, 5.6 yards per play. They had 1 fumble and didn't lose it. They had 11 penalties for 110 on the night. 1 punt for 49 yards for the Hornets. 4 punts for 41-yard average for the Wildcats. Time of possession, 31 minutes and 29 seconds for the Hornets, 5 of 10 on third down. Did not attempt a fourth down. They had 4 of 5 in the red zone. They were 2 of 17 on. They had 2 sacks for a loss of 17 yards. 4 for 4 on extra points and 3 for 4 on field goals. 28-31 time of possession for the Wildcats. 10 of 15 on third downs. No fourth down attempts. 3 of 4 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks. 2 or 3 on extra points, and they were 0 for 0 on field goals, so no field goal attempts. Davis, 12 of 15 passing for the Hornets, 171, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 2 sacks. Miles Crawley, 1 for 1 for 9 yards, no touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks. Jones, 19 of 30 for the Wildcats, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 2 sacks. Tyrone Franklin, 0 for 1 on the night with an interception. Santo Dunn, 6 carries for 63 yards, averaged 10.5 yards per carry. Merritt, 10 for 45, 4.5 yards per carry. Davis, 8 for 42, and 2 touchdowns, averaged 5.3 yards per carry. Howell, 12 for 38. Bird led the Wildcats with 20 carries for 102 yards and a touchdown, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. Jones, 12 for 65. 1 touchdown, average 5.4 yards per carry. Hickson, 5 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown for the Hornets. Merritt, 2 for 47. Johnson, 2 for 26. McMahon, 1 for 18. Howell, 1 for 10. Dunn, 1 for 6. Edmonds, 1 for 5. Overton led the Wildcats with 1 catch for 38 yards. Bird, 5 for 35. Powell, 2 for 35. Averett, 5 for 32 and a touchdown. Allen Johnson 1 for 30, Reed 2 for 11, Thomas 2 for 10. Bellamy led the Hornets with 6 tackles, Davis 5, Adams 5, Cunningham 5, Gene Lewis 4 tackles for loss, LaPierre 2, Scott 1.5, Jordan 1, Adams a half a tackle for loss, Ogletree a half a tackle for loss, Varner and McCluster and Gaddy each had a half a tackle for loss apiece. Sacks went to Jordan and LaPierre, they each had 1. LaPierre had a forced fumble. And interception was by Arrington. Bethune-Cookman was led by Trayshawn Smith with 13 tackles, Sutherland 7, Ratliff 7, Lewis 5, Hampton 5, and Walls with 5, McKenzie with 4. Tackle for loss, Ratliff 1, Sutherland 1, Loving 1, Lewis, Walls, McKenzie, and Hall each had a half a tackle for loss apiece. Sacks went to Sutherland with 1, Lewis and Walls each had a half a sack, no forced fumbles and no interception. So really, like I said, really solid game for Alabama State in all phases. This probably was their most complete game in terms of offense, defense, and special teams. The defense does what they do, but the offense really came alive in this game. Special teams got a touchdown. Just, really big road victory. That was homecoming at Bethune-Cookman. So they had to battle that and get the dub. That sets up a nice battle with Florida A&M on Saturday. The Hornets can make a nice little statement for the rest of their season in this game against FAMU. FAMU can basically lock up second place with a win in that game as well. So a lot on the line in that game. Bethune-Cookman, they had the Alcorn for a matchup with the Braves. So just to take a look at the Week 11 schedule, Prairie View is at Pine Bluff. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff. Valley is at Southern. That's also a 2 o'clock kickoff, ESPN+. Bethune-Cookman is at Alcorn. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff, and that's our HBCU Go game of the week. FAMU is at Alabama State. That's also a 2 o'clock kickoff. Alabama A&M is playing Jackson State in Mobile. Gulf Coast Challenge, ESPN+ broadcast. Also, that's like I said, 4 o'clock kickoff. And Grambling is at Texas Southern, 6 o'clock kickoff, ESPN+ broadcast. So the majority of the games are 2 o'clock games, and then you have a 4 o'clock and a 6 o'clock. Looking at the standings, Jackson State continues to lead the East at 6-0. They're 9-0 overall. FAMU 5-1, 7-2 overall. Alabama State is 4-2, 6-3 overall. Alabama A&M 3-3, 3-6 overall. Bethune-Cookman 2-4, 2-7 overall. Valley 1-5, 1-8 overall. The West is still a mess. Prairie View leads it again. It looked like they was gonna lose that lead because they lost on Friday, but Southern and TSU both lost. Alcorn is still in the mix in a way. So right now, Prairie View, they have 2 games left with a 1-game lead. They have 2 winnable games. So by all intents and purposes, they probably should win the division, but this is the SWAC and strange things happen. So they're at 4-2 right now. They're sitting good but not comfortable. Southern, TSU, and Alcorn are all 3-3. Texas Southern has beat both Southern and Alcorn. So in terms of that, they probably would hold the lead, and they would hold the lead in that situation for second place. Southern beat Alcorn, so they would probably be third. But it's a whole lot more tiebreakers than that. But right now, TSU has the advantage on those 2 teams. Grambling is 2-4, 3-6 overall. Alcorn 3-3, 4-5 overall. Texas Southern 3-3, 4-5 overall. Southern 3-3, 5-4 overall. And Pine Bluff is 0-6 and 2-7 overall. Pine Bluff is the only winless conference team in the league right now. So they want to finish their season strong. They need to pick up a win in one of these last 2 games. Everybody has 2 games left, man. The season is basically over. They still have basically 3 weeks of football. Most people have two games left on the 12th and the 19th. There's a couple, Thanksgiving weekend games. So basically 3 weeks left of SWAC football plus the SWAC championship and the Celebration Bowl. So not a lot of football left, man. The season has flown by. The West has been a mess, just like most people predicted it would be. I felt like 3 losses could still give you a chance in the division. and it's looking like that. Although I think Prairie View should seal a deal in these next 2 weeks. Basically, everybody's fighting for the right to play JSU. I feel like we should maybe do a West All-Star team and take on Jackson State and see what happens, because JSU has beaten 2 of the top 3 teams in the division, and they still have to play Alcorn. They beat Grambling in a non-conference, so if they beat Alcorn, that would get them victories over 4 of the 6 East, 4 of the 6 West teams. So playing Prairie View in the championship would probably get them 5 out of 6. And we pretty much sure they probably would have beat Bethune Cookman, beat Pine Bluff if they played them. So JSU probably can, basically just beat the West by themselves. So the West is a mess. We bad quarterback play, inconsistent offenses. You name it. A lot of teams in rebuild mode, and it's looking like it looking like we thought it would at the beginning of the season. So nobody's ran away with it. So that's gonna do it for today's show, man. Like I said, I thank y'all for tuning in and kind of being there with me through this show. Wasn't easy, man. It's a lot going on in my head, but wanted to go ahead and put this out for y'all. So we'll catch y'all on Wednesday with our Week 11 preview. SWAC Smoke live on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday we'll have our Week 11 recap. So y'all have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.